Welcome to Mindshift Power Podcast, the only international podcast focused on teens, connecting young voices and perspectives from around the world. Get ready to explore the issues that matter to today's youth and shape tomorrow's world. I'm your host, Fatima Bey, the Mindshifter. And welcome, everyone. Today we have with us Katherine Norland. She is out of California in the U.S. She is an actor, an author, a speaker, and a coach. How are you today, Katherine?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. I like to dive right in. So I have you on here for a particular reason. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I grew up in a small town in southern Minnesota and kind of surrounded by cornfields. I grew up in a trailer park. My parents did not have much at all. I would get made fun of in school sometimes for wearing clothes from the thrift store. And I had really low self-esteem. I can't really pinpoint where it came from, but I just had this sense, at least as far back as I can remember, that there was something not good enough about me or that people didn't like me. And it kind of shaped everything I did and my relationships at school. And really, I had this yearning that I had to go over and above and be an overperformer and do more and more just to be worthy to even have friends. I just had this feeling that I wasn't good enough. And that unworthiness kind of shaped my whole life, unfortunately.
And there are lots of girls listening right now who are where you were.
Mm-hmm.
And so why do you have a focus on helping women to recognize their worthiness now?
Well, I didn't know that I had inherent worth and value that was given to me by my Creator, by God, regardless of what I looked like, what I did, what I accomplished, where I grew up, whatever my history was. I didn't know that I had worth just by being alive. And sometimes we forget, the Bible says God made us in his image and in his likeness. So we are a reflection of him. But sometimes we compare ourselves to those around us, those we see on social media, those who seem to have it all together. Mm-hmm. They've got all the outward things. And we think when we're comparing ourselves to these outward things that we're not enough, forgetting that's not where our true value comes from.
You are so right. And there's a lot of young women out there who currently feel that way in all over the world, not just in the U.S., but all over the world. So I have you on here, not just because of your background, but what do you do right now that helps young women to recognize their worth?
Yeah. Well, one of the things I do as an actor is I'm a part of a show called Darman, which is on YouTube. And it's one of the top shows that really helps change people's lives by seeing themselves portrayed in different ways and different resolutions of what they're going through in life. But I've also written a book called You Are Worthy, which is to help people stop sabotaging their dreams and building everyone else's so they can step into their calling and live their purpose with confidence. And I have a course by the same name. I've written several books on the topic of self-worth and seeing yourself the way God does and, overcoming obstacles and goals, because it's such a heart of mine, because I feel like I wasted at least the first 20 years, 30 years of my life trying to be somebody that I'm not, just to impress people that I wasn't even meant to impress.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. There's so many people, we're talking to teens today, but there's so many of those adult teens who are still living that. They're still trying to impress everybody else. Mm-hmm. And instead of being their true selves, but mostly we do that because we don't know who we are. Until we figure out who we are, we're trying to be everyone else. Let's go back to when you were younger. Mm-hmm. You talked about the fact that you grew up with this sense of unworthiness. And I almost started tearing up when you said it because I felt it. I literally felt it when you said it. That little girl was hurting a lot. And all the other little girls out there right now who are hurting like that. How did that sense of unworthiness affect your career?
Well, this is the crazy part. So I had such low self-esteem, I couldn't even look in the mirror without crying. As a matter of fact, I was going to Bible college thinking I really wanted to help people, thinking that when I grew up, I was going to be a pastor or a therapist or a teacher or something like that. And then I started to get the sense that God was calling me to move to Los Angeles and become an actor. And I thought, well, that's just crazy. But I was trying to be obedient. So I signed up to take this acting course in Minneapolis. And I talk about this in my You Are Worthy book and course. But in this class, the teacher was saying there's 3 primary emotions, and every emotion that you're going to tell on screen comes from these 3 buckets: anger, sadness, happiness. And he wanted us to portray something from the sadness bucket without using words. So he started to call everybody up to the front of the classroom, and we're supposed to emote sadness. Like, he wanted us to think of something tragic that happened so we could really get sad and have real tears. And one by one, everybody went up to the front of the classroom. They did this, and it started to get towards the end. And I was like hiding behind some other people because I didn't want to go up front. And I was so scared. He calls my name, and my heart's like thumping like a ADHD jackrabbit on steroids. And I finally went up, and he's like, well, just no stress. Don't worry about it. Just think of something sad. And within moments, I just started bawling. I was sobbing uncontrollably, and I couldn't stop myself. And all my fear just faded away because I was so lost in my sadness. And when I was done, I looked around the room, and everyone was just like, whoa, like, what just happened? And the teacher said, so what were you thinking of? Was there a fire? Did you lose your grandma? And he started naming all these like really heavy things. And I said, no, I just pictured myself looking in the mirror, and then you could hear a pin drop. It's like you could hear a pin drop. Some people were like nervously chuckling. Some people were like, but she's crazy. This is not her first acting class. She's just pretending. But I really believed I was ugly and hideous and disgusting, and that no one would ever want to be my friend. And that was a huge hurdle to get over when suddenly I moved to Los Angeles, the epicenter of beauty, where everybody out here was prom king or prom queen or, in Miss America pageants or whatever. And now I'm competing against all the most beautiful women in the world, and I couldn't even look in the mirror.
I used to be that girl too. And I get it. I totally get it. And there are lots of young women. As a coach, one of the things I have some of my clients mostly work up to, because most of them can't do it in the beginning, is to look in the mirror. Mm-hmm. I have them say certain things to themselves in the mirror. And it is one of the hardest things for them to do. And mostly because it's hard to face yourself when you don't think you're worth anything.
Absolutely.
And there are so many other young women out there who really are where you were. And so even when you said that to me, you said, I just pictured myself looking in the mirror. My whole heart just dropped. The pin dropped inside my head when you said that, because it's like, whoa. So what has made you recognize your worth? Mm-hmm. What's given you confidence? Where did the change happen?
I grew up as a Christian, but I didn't necessarily know that God loved me. You hear that, but it seemed like it was true for everybody else but me. Like, you want to say, yeah, well, he loves everyone. So of course, yeah, he might love me, but I didn't think that I was special, unique, set apart, that I had anything going for me. And it wasn't until I really started delving into what the Word of God had to say and all these scriptures that kind of made it seem like it didn't matter where you came from or who you are, that you could be broken and fallen apart and that God would still have a purpose for you. And I remember certain scriptures like, let the foolish things of the world confound the wise. And I thought, wow, like I could be a fool, I could be stupid, and God could still use me to confound the wise. Like I'm a fool anyway. I could be a fool for God. And then all these things about being a broken vessel, that we are just these broken jars of clay. And that's not the thing that makes us not worthy. It's what makes us worthy is that we have this treasure in earthen vessels, that the fullness of God dwells within us, and that God is willing to come into our lives and sup with us and have a relationship with us. And and realizing the enormity of that statement and believing it, and then starting to really, really delve into, well, what does the scripture say about me? Because when you buy a new phone and you want to know how it works, you read the instruction manual. And I realized, well, God created me and he left this book. And maybe if I read it, I'll understand how I work and how I operate. And when I stopped listening to what the people of the world were saying, what the haters were saying, what the trolls on the internet were saying, and I started listening to what the God who created me had to say about me, I realized I'm not that bad. I'm pretty great. God says I'm the head and not the tail, above only and not beneath. He says nothing shall be impossible for me. He said whatever I put my hands to will prosper. And promise after promise after promise, I realized I'm not as terrible as I made myself out to be. And everyone listening, you are not the person you are accusing yourself of being.
I love the way you just worded that. The person you are accusing yourself of being. That is so accurate. And I used to do a lot of that negative self-talk too. Mm-hmm. And my story is similar in that my foundation for confidence, people see me as a strong, confident woman, but they don't know my story that it took to get there. It's a multiple reasons, but a large foundational reason is my relationship with God and realizing that the one who made me finds me worthy.
Yeah.
And the one who made me saw greatness in me because he put it there. And if you're listening right now, young women, even young men, there is greatness in you. You were born with it. You just have to find it. It's already there. It's like a seed. There's an orchard inside an apple seed, but not until you plant it, right?
Yeah. And not only that, what a lot of times we don't realize, the uncomfortable part is when you get planted as that seed, you're down in the dark and it's cold and you're alone.
Good
and
point.
You have to die. The outer shell, the outward things have to die in order for that seed to crack open and grow. And even when you are growing to the best of your ability, people aren't going to see it at first because the roots have to go down deeper before the fruits can appear. So we sometimes feel like I've done all this self-work. I'm growing, but nothing is happening. No one can see the fruit. And that's because the better we grow and the longer we grow underground, the bigger and higher and taller we'll be able to reach, and the more fruit we will have and the more medicine we'll have in our leaves that can be a blessing to others. But we got to do the work on ourselves in the dark, in the cold, in the shadows, before we come out the other side.
I freaking love you. I just love the way you took my apple seed analogy. You just went deep down in there and so beautifully. So beautifully. And you're 100% right in every single thing you just said. It's progress is a process is what I always say. And you basically just explained that in a different way. Progress is a process. And so speaking of that, what does it look like when we actually start building confidence in ourselves? Because a lot of times we say, oh, build confidence. And we think we're supposed to just suddenly arrive with a ray of sunlight. And I'm confident now. I've arrived.
Yeah.
And we both know that's not reality. So what does reality look like when you're in the midst of building confidence?
Some of it does have a little bit to do with the fake it till you make it mentality and the stepping out. An analogy I like to use is, how would I act and how would I operate if I had already arrived, if I was already at that level? Like when I moved to LA, I was doing a lot of student films and low budget films and free films, and I wasn't getting paid. And I was saying yes to things that I wouldn't have said yes to had I already arrived or had I already thought I was worthy enough or believed in myself. And I think if you just start saying, where is the ultimate me wanting to be? Where do I want to go once I've seen this whole thing come to fruition and fulfillment, and that I am walking in who I want to be? What decisions would I make at that point, and how can I start making those decisions now? If I would say no to this once I've arrived, why am I saying yes to it now? And starting to hold yourself at higher standards like you would have. And sometimes people go, I don't want to fake it till I make it, or I don't want to do these affirmations because it's not true. Well, it actually is true, because Jesus himself said, call those things that be not as though they were. So you are calling forth into fruition into the future what you want to be. And the more you do that and you grab it and you pull it down into the now and you start operating as the ideal person you want to be, if you want to be like if I wanted to be a Julia Roberts or a Sandra Bullock or a Viola Davis, why am I saying yes to these pathetic, dumb scripts that aren't going anywhere just because I'm so hungry to prove myself, to prove that I'm an actor, to prove that people want me and I'm accepted? No, you got to start saying no more often so you can say yes to yourself and your future self and who you want to be.
So what I'm hearing is that when confidence begins to grow within us, we begin to make different choices.
Absolutely. I mean,
those
that's
choices
just
start
the tip
showing up differently in our lives.
That's the tip of the iceberg, but that's a great start.
Yeah. And that's important to know. And the reason I'm mentioning that for the audience is because sometimes when we are in the midst of our process, we don't recognize our own growth. And I always say change is one of the hardest things to see within ourselves and around us. Change happens slowly and tiny bit by tiny bit. And one decision at a time is how you make a change happen. I'm going to reword part of what you said in that we learn through repetition as human beings. When you said fake it till you make it, affirmations are weird when you're first doing them for anybody. And I do have all my coaching clients do affirmations, different ones, but I have all of them do different forms of affirmations because I believe in them. But the reason I believe in them is because when you constantly speak something, good or bad, you begin to believe it, number one, and it begins to manifest itself because you keep speaking it into existence. And that's the reason why some of you think you're stupid because you've been told that all your life. You've been told over and over again, you're stupid because you don't fit into the standard school system. You're not stupid. Some of you are actually more intelligent than the people who called you stupid. You think you are great. You're a spoiled brat who thinks you're great because you were told you were great your whole life. And the truth is you ain't that great. But you've been told that, so you believe it. So it doesn't matter. It works true for both good and bad. If you continually tell yourself, and that little voice in your head tells you you're dumb, you're not worth it, you're whatever negative statements, well, that's what you're going to believe because you're coaching yourself into believing that. So it's so important that we do, what Katherine was just saying, talk those positive things, work towards something as if it's happening. This podcast is happening right now because I behaved as if it was already big. And now I'm international on 60 plus platforms around the world, blah, blah, blah. And now people are reaching out to me to be on my podcast. Yay. But when I first started, I had to reach out to people. That's growth. It's wonderful. And I'm not even where I'm going to be a year from now. Hey, that's great. But I didn't go into podcasting acting like I hope I make it. I set it up for when I make it. Different mentality. And
believing it.
Yes, that's the key word, believing it. And when you have low self-esteem, it's really hard to believe it. But it sounds like for you, what you believed in was your maker, and that helped you believe in yourself.
Yeah. And I like to, instead of saying fake it till you make it, I like to say faith it till you make it.
Oh, I like
having that faith it till you make it is sometimes when you don't have the belief in yourself, you borrow somebody else's belief. You borrow the belief that God has in you, or you borrow the belief of your mentor or your coach or your teacher, or there's somebody in your life that believes in you. It's a friend, and you believe what they say before you believe your own negative thoughts. I was reading recently that it takes 13 positive affirmations to overcome one negative remark that was said to you. So if someone says you're stupid or whatever, you have to hear 13 positive things just to outdo that one thing. This is why it's so important that you do your affirmations. And one little tip for those of you who are new to affirmations is I would tell you, don't make them super big and grandiose initially starting out, because then you won't believe it and you won't have faith in it. So sometimes you have to make little baby affirmations first till you can grow into the bigger ones. So if you are brand new and you feel like you are at the bottom, you don't want to make affirmations that are like, I am a billionaire and this, stuff that you actually don't truly believe. You might want to start out just by saying, every month I always have more than enough to pay all my bills. And you start small, saying things like that rather than the big ones. And then you grow. When that becomes nothing for you, when it becomes true, then you make the affirmations bigger and bigger. But there's something about if you make them too big, you don't believe it and you push it away, and it could be more detrimental. So start with baby affirmations if you're new to it.
I love that. And you're 100% right. The small steps to get to big places. is the way we need to approach just about everything in life. Any kind of growth or success, that's how we need to approach it. Small steps to get to big places. So going back to your career, you've had this change. It affected your career when you were younger. But now how has this change for you positively affected your career?
Yeah. I used to think back when I had the really low self-esteem, oh, I'm not getting parts because I'm not any good. I'm not pretty enough. I'm too fat. I'm this, I'm that. And it had nothing to do with it, really, because when you walk into a room, a lot of times the directors, producers, casting directors are making their judgments like within the first 7 seconds. All you've said is, hi, how are you?
That's true.
And that's determined whether they're even considering you for the part or not before you even say your first words of the speech. How you carry yourself. You see, people can read desperation. They can read low self-esteem. That's why a lot of people with low self-esteem, the egotists and narcissists of the world, they see you coming. They prey on you and you're like, why do I always get screwed over? Well, you kind of set the tone for how people treat you and you don't realize it. When you walk into a room with confidence, not necessarily because you think you deserve it, but because of God who says you are his child, and you walk into the room like, hey, I am the prince or princess of the king. I am a child of God. No one can mess with me. And you start to carry yourself as a child of the king. People are going to treat you differently. It's like back when they were trying to enter the promised land in the Bible, and God sent those spies into the land, and 10 of the 12 spies came back saying, we can't do it. We'll never overtake them. We're like grasshoppers in their sight. They're going to squash us. And 2 of the people, Joshua and Caleb, were like, no, oh man, we got this. We are well able to overcome them. When they went into the land, the people that were nervous and they felt that they were grasshoppers, that's how the giants saw them. They saw them as grasshoppers. So part of the reason we get seen as nothing is because we're first projecting that and other people are picking up on it. So it's up to you to go into the room, whether you feel you deserve it or not, and say, you're going to treat me with dignity. You're going to treat me with respect. That is how I am carrying myself. And in real life, like if you lived right in England where they actually do have kings and queens, the child of the king, they don't think, well, I have to look a certain way. I have to achieve these things. I have to have it. They're like, no, my dad is king. I get whatever I want and you will treat me with respect. They don't feel like they had to have earned it. They don't feel like they had to have grown up a certain way or do whatever. Because of their lineage, they know who they are. And we have to start remembering we are a child of the king and we have a legal, regal heritage. And we need to walk around holding our head up high like we belong because we are children of the king.
I love that. Very, very, very different mindset. And again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. If you don't know who you are, you allow everyone else to tell you. But once you know who you are, people need to just move out the way.
Yeah.
So tell us about this book that you have called You Are Worthy.
So You Are Worthy is a book that I wrote, and it was about my journey from self-hate into self-love by finding out what God had to say about me. And it really helps people see where their true worth and their value comes from and how it's not determined by anything outwardly. It's not determined by any way that the world judges us in the outward things of our lineage, our money, our heritage, what we've accomplished. And it's really about your intrinsic value and worth. And I give a lot of stories from my life and my acting career and how I overcame it, and different exercises that you can apply to yourself, like towards chapter 14 and 15 of the You Are Worthy book, I have the sight method and how to start seeing yourself the way God sees you. So it really helps you hone in on how you are God's favorite creation. And like when God created all the things, one day he's creating the stars and the moon, and then he's creating the fish and the sea, and he's creating all these beautiful things. But on And every day he said, it is good. It is good. It is good. But it wasn't good enough because he wasn't done. And then on the final day, he made us. And he was like, this is very good. It's the first time God used the word very. It is very good. So all the other things that we think are amazing, the bunny rabbits, the Bengal tigers, the most beautiful vacation spots you could ever look at, are nothing. They're good. But when God made you, he said, you are very good. And he was like, drop the mic. I got nothing after that. And he rested. God rested. He didn't feel the need to create anything else because you were the ultimate in his creation. He didn't even make the angels in his likeness and image. He made you in his likeness and image.
Wow, that's a lot. So, Katherine, I want to ask you, what do you have to say to all the teenage girls that are listening right now?
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you, just one piece of advice, I know there's a lot, but one piece of advice that you would give to teenagers listening right now?
That you are enough. You are worthy just the way you are without changing a single thing about your outward status. That you have everything it takes already to become the person you want to be, to live the dreams you want to live, to have a life you want to live. And any thoughts that are contrary, anyone who's told you you're nothing, you're never going to make it, you don't have what it takes, they're not speaking the truth. They're liars. And the Old Testament tells us when we delight ourselves in God, he will give us the desires of our heart. Matthew 6:33 tells us if we seek first the kingdom of God, then all these things shall be added unto us. God has plans for you that you cannot even fathom, plans for good and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope, as Jeremiah 29 tells us. Nothing is impossible for you unless you believe it is. So the book of Proverbs tells us, as a person thinks in his heart, so is he. So you will become what you think. You will become what your thoughts are. And if you want to escape from where you are now and go to the place you can only imagine, you have to think it first in your heart and believe it and know it. You can't believe it after it comes. You have to believe it before it comes. You have to have that faith before you see it happen. This isn't the show me state. Show me, then I'll believe it. It's I believe it, and then I will achieve it.
Yes, faith comes before the manifestation, and that is always true.
Would it be okay with you if I read one of the poems called Child of the King from one of my books?
Sure.
Okay, so I have a book out called Poetic Prescriptions for Pesky Problems, and it's one of my poetry books. And this is kind of the message I want everyone to hear. It's called Child of the King. We come into a sinful world fallen as we are, but God will elevate our status, raise the bar, beyond a splendor we imagine we could see, where King Eternal has decreed that we would be. How can you make a difference in another's life if you let sharp-tongued comments slice you like a knife? Now leave your pity party and embrace your call. You're part of a royal heritage. Don't be thinking small. You are worthy, child. Get your robe down from that shelf. Go on, put it on, girl. You better love yourself. There is no lineage or gifts you need to bring, for God will elevate, equip you with all things. You're a regent here on earth, endowed with what you need, so to fulfill your noble duties and succeed. When will you grasp your legal, regal family line and discontinue your delay and waste of time, lamenting like your peasants, crying, "Oh, poor me"? Now, why do you deny that you are royalty? You are chosen. Child, get your scepter from that shelf. Go on, hold it firm, boy. You better love yourself. This kingdom has been given to you for doing good. Use your divine identity. Do with it what you should. Hold out your royal scepter so that others can see, and lead your fellow countrymen to find their destiny. You must claim that position to fully walk within it, and use your rank to rescue the oppressed from the pit. Don't let improper mindset and lowly self-esteem make you forget he died so you could be redeemed. You are capable. Child, get your crown down from that shelf. Go on, wear it proud, queen. You better love yourself. You can't be nervous when the devil raids your mind. As children of the King, you've got the power to bind. Bind up that liar so he is not a hindrance. Use Jesus' name and he must bow in reverence. Be not beset by insecurity. Be brave. Think you're not worthy of the palace, so you cave into the foul accuser's lies who only wants you pained? When you are titled, you belong. You've been ordained. You are unstoppable. Child, get your signet from that shelf. Go on, make your mark, king. You better love yourself. Don't listen to the serfs and the opinions that they bring when trusted chief advisors are waiting there with wings. Inherit your birthright. Become a potentate. Now hold your head up high. Don't walk askew but straight. The king has preordained that you bring his realm glory. You have yet to have the crowning moment in your story. No, you're not ignorant, led blindly to the slaughter. It's time to rule and reign as the king's son and daughter. You are victorious. Child, get yourself down from that shelf. Go now, sit on your throne. Child, you better love yourself.
You wrote all of that?
Yeah, it's from my book.
That's a lot.
It's a call to who you are.
Yeah, no, it is. And I hear it because I'm the type of person where you read something like that and I start picturing everything you're saying like a cartoon.
Aww.
So I was seeing a cartoon the whole time you were talking. And no, but I like the imagery of royalty that many people actually need to hear and understand. Not only understand, but get to the point where they actually believe it.
Yeah.
Well, Katherine, thank you for coming on. Before we go, tell people how they can find you.
Sure. So I am on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook under Katherine Norland. And you can download a free gift from me, some coursework out of my video course called You Are Worthy by going to freegiftfromcoachkat.com. And that's cat with a K, freegiftfromcoachkat.com.
And those links will be in the show notes as well. So thank you, Katherine, for coming on today. I really appreciate it. And I hope that this episode really touches, even if it just touches one, it's worth it.
Thank you, Fatima.
And now for a mind-shifting moment. I want to plant a thought seed in your mind today. For every single listener out there, I want you to ask yourself a couple of questions. Number one, what is my self-worth? I want you to ask yourself what your self-worth is. For some of you, the answers will be good. For some of you, it'll be bad. For all of you, it'll be different. No matter what that answer is, good or bad, or a mixture of both, ask yourself this next question. What is it based out of? What is the foundation for my belief in what my worth is and who I am? Is your foundation in the praises of others? Is it in knowing who you were created to be? What is it? That's a question for you to answer. And those answers are going to lead to other thoughts. Thank you for listening. Be sure to follow or subscribe to Mindshift Power Podcast on any of our worldwide platforms, so you too can be a part of the conversation that's changing young lives everywhere. And always remember, there's power in shifting your thinking.